Hello there. My name is Robert McKay. The Brits would say I'm called Robert McKay. Well, what I'm called in real life may be any number of things. That you can call me what you like, just don't call me late for dinner. This is I wrote it down. This is the 19th installment of Whisky Basics, as I'm recreating the whole playlist, which, don't ask me how, I deleted the whole thing, I guess about a month ago. And I wrote it down and stuck the sticky paper note here because I keep saying, I believe this is such and such number, and finding out I'm one off. I have a mind like a steel sieve. My name is Forgetful Jones. But tonight, I say tonight, it is actually 0112, but IBS woke me up at 07:30 Friday morning, and I had to miss work. I felt so miserable, and I got a nap and woke up feeling better, but because of the nap it really feels like morning. Meanwhile, I propose I pour me some whiskey, and then we'll get into the video. This is Green River Foolproof. It is 117.9 proof, so I'm assuming that when they're saying foolproof they mean barrel proof, because foolproof really means, or should mean, 125 proof, that being the maximum proof at which whiskey can go into the barrel. Not all distilleries put it in that high. Some put it in as low as, if I remember correctly, 110 proof, which is lower than this. And in the American climate, the proof tends to go up as more water evaporates than alcohol is the angel's share. But the question and answer, well, the question for this video is, should you ever go back and try something that you've had before and didn't like? I would say yes, and let me explain why. When I was first starting out, I was trying pretty much anything. My budget then was at least 10 or 20 bucks lower than it is now. My finances have improved these past 4 years. And there were some things I tried that I disliked enough. I know I won't go back to them. But some I just disliked. They weren't suited to my palate, or my palate wasn't suited to them. However, which way you want to do it. And after a while, I went back and tried them again. And I think particularly of two bourbons. One is Knob Creek, which comes from Jim Beam, and the other is Larceny, which is a wheated bourbon that comes from Heaven Hill. I tried them both early on and didn't care for either one. On whiskeys I really enjoy, I tend to get honey, and guess what? Honey. Well, about a year after I'd tried both Larceny and Knob Creek, I thought, you know, I was just starting out then. My palate wasn't trained. I didn't know even what I liked and didn't like. Why don't I go back and try them again? and I liked them both this time around. And today, after 4 years of drinking whiskey, Knob Creek is one of my favorites. I believe, and I think I've said before in these videos, that Knob Creek is the best bottom level or entry level of any line of bourbons that I've ever had. It's 100 proof at the bottom. It's 9 years old, which is not young for a bourbon, unless maybe you're aging your bourbon way up in Minnesota or somewhere that the climate is really chilly for a lot of the year. But because I went back and tried it, I found that I did like it. Now, Larceny's a little more iffy. That first bottle I had, as I say, I didn't like it. The second bottle, I did like it. But then when I went in and got a third bottle, it wasn't bad, but again, it didn't suit me. And so I haven't tried another bottle of Larceny in at least a year, and I'm not in a hurry to, because there's so much to explore out there and so much that I know I really do like. But it makes me wonder. 2 out of 3 bottles of Larceny I've had, I didn't care for. If we dismiss the first one, because as I say, I had an untrained palate at the time, then I have 1 and 1. One I liked, one I didn't. Well, which is the correct evaluation of Larceny bourbon? I don't know. If I knew for sure I didn't like it, I would just dismiss it from my thoughts. And if I knew for sure I did like it, I would buy some. But I don't know. And what I try to do is maintain a balance between things I know I like and things I want to try. And when you're on a budget, as I am, there have been times where I had to go 2 or 3 months without buying anything because I just couldn't afford it at the time. When you're on a budget, you have to be careful not to throw money away. You have to buy stuff you know you like or that you have a reasonable expectation of liking. Green River is one where I bought it with a reasonable expectation that I would like it, because Casey Allen of Beautiful Bourbon, whose palate seems to generally agree with mine, has spoken highly of Green River. I tried Smoke Wagon Small Batch because he recommended it. There's another one, Clyde Mays Bourbon, which I first tried because he liked it. But I have to be careful not to just buy anything. There have been times I've done that, and not just in that first year or so of drinking whiskey. There are times when I see something and I think, what is that like? But I can't do that with $60, $70, $80 bottles. The reason I first tried Hard Truth, it was the Sweet Mash Rye, which was $70, was because the manager of Kelly Liquors recommended. In fact, he let me try a sample of it. And so I had a reasonable expectation that I would like it, and I do. Would I have bought a $70 bottle if I didn't have that reasonable expectation? It's not too likely. I might have, but I probably wouldn't have. Now, there is one bottle that I bought not knowing at all what I would think, but knowing something about it, and that is a Scotch whiskey, Laphroaig 10-year. And that's how you pronounce it, at least in American English, Laphroaig. I suspect the Scottish would say something more or less like Laphroaig. But I don't speak Scottish English. I certainly don't speak Scots, and I absolutely do not speak Gaelic. The only three things I know how to say more or less correctly in Gaelic are my last name, Mackay, Sláinte, which is a toast, and Ushgaba. And how correctly I'm pronouncing any of those, I will not attempt to guarantee. There was a ton of honey on the palate. There was a ton of honey on the nose. There's honey on the palate. There's cinnamon. And it's real spicy on the finish. This isn't a review. Eventually I will review this both on distiller and on video. But I like it. And one of the reasons I got the full proof, I also have the wheated bourbon from Green River. One of the reasons I got this first is I do like proof. If I could ever find benchmark full proof around here, I would buy it. Even though I am not a fan of the Buffalo Trace distillery, which makes benchmark. But I have seen and read enough reviews, including from Beautiful Bourbon, which tell me that it's not the standard Buffalo Trace profile. Now, it's newer than their other stuff. It's cheaper. But to me, that is not automatically a disrecommendation. You know, I like some stuff that is cheap. I like some stuff that is new. But back to the whole point here. If you're new to whiskey and you tried something and you didn't like it, you should in a while, say in a year from now, go back and try it again. It may be that you still won't like it. And of course, if there's something that you tried and just was absolutely awful, for instance, the Longhorn corn whiskey that I tried early on, or the New Mexico Blue corn whiskey, just absolutely undrinkable. Somebody at both distilleries thought that they were good and were selling, but to me, they were just undrinkable. I won't go back to them. But there are things that you might not like, but which are not bad necessarily. You just don't like them. Which after a year, after you've had some experience with several different whiskeys and your palate has gained experience and has had some training, you might want to go back and try them again. And you can get mixed results, as I did with Knob Creek and Larceny. It may be that everything you go back and try you still don't like. It may be that everything you go back and try you like, but you don't know until you do it. Now, as you gain experience, as your palate becomes more capable, you will be able to dispense with that. You'll be able to tell that you're never going to like this particular whiskey. And there are people who don't. Some people don't like Wild Turkey. It's not that it's bad, it just doesn't suit their particular profile, or their particular palate, I should say. There are people who just don't like Four Roses. There are people who just don't like anything really from Jim Beam. And every palate is different. If a particular profile doesn't suit your palate, that's not a problem. You don't have to drink that stuff. But when you're new, and this channel and specifically this playlist has newbies to whiskey in mind, if you're still new to whiskey and you don't like something, at least consider going back in 2-3 months, a year, what have you, and trying it again. And if you can get the little bottles, so much the better. You know, if you're buying a fifth for 30 or 40 bucks and you don't like it, you have to throw it out. That hurts a little, even if you don't have a budget to stick by. But if you can get a little bottle for 10 or 15 bucks, and yeah, there are some little bottles that cost as much as a fifth of other stuff, if not more. But if you can get something for 10 or 15 bucks because it's in a smaller bottle, then you can try it without the expense, and it doesn't hurt so much when if you don't like it and you have to chuck it out. So, actually finishing a video before it gets way long, I raise my glass of Green River Full Proof. Here's how.